Hello, everybody, and welcome to DualShockers Game of the Year 2020 discussions, Part 2. We're doing our discussions tonight for the second quarter of the year, which is going to consist of the months from April to June. Before I get too much more into explaining everything that we're going to be doing over the next probably hour or two, let me introduce our panel for the evening. We have, starting from my left to right, I guess we'll go... Cam Hawkins is here with us. Hi, Cam.
Hey, Logan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Not looking forward to you talking shit about Final Fantasy VII Remake, but, you know. I have prepared myself mentally for this all day today, so.
We'll see what happens. Charlie, how do you say your last name? Wakeholz?
Wackholz, but you were close enough.
So there we go. You are new to this whole ordeal, so welcome to our discussion for this period of time, this quarter. Running the board, as always, Mario Rivera is here. He's about to drink a Mountain Dew, I think. I got a Mountain Dew as well.
That's sound.
Hi, Mario.
How's it going, guys?
In the middle of my screen is a boy wearing a Starbucks shirt and a hat who's no longer with the site, but he's going to do this as his final farewell tour, is Michael Ruiz, who's opening a beer, I assume.
No, it's not beer.
From his giant beer fridge.
It's actually a beer. It's called Crispy Cakes, and it tastes like Rice Krispie treats. It's pretty
You're
good.
gonna say it tastes like cake. I was like, I'm not sure I want that one.
Yeah.
It kind of tastes like cake. It's cake.
Mike Long, our social media expert, wearing the Ryback shirt, is here. Hi, Mike.
Greg, what's up? Thanks for having me on. I'm here to back up Cam, and for not talking about Final Fantasy VII, I'm going to shell shock you.
The deranged survivor man with the long beard who we've never seen on camera until now, Ricky Freck, is down on the bottom of my...
Oh, I've come out of hiding. How's it going?
Your setup is really nice because you ordered a camera and a mic and we haven't seen it until this moment. But
I've been waiting for this for almost 2 months. So
I got to ask, is he on an island?
He's been waiting for this moment
He's
for
been
2
training.
months.
He's on a survivor island, ain't he?
that's right. I've been sitting here at my desk
With
my
Tom
butt.
Nook.
That's why my beard's so long. Yeah. Haven't shaved since I started.
And last but not least, the man whose shelves might break at any given moment, Scott White, is with us as well.
You're holding steady, everybody. Shelf watch 2020.
Listen,
I hope when they do.
quarter
I hope when they do
four-
break.
Yeah.
I hope when they break it is while we're on camera doing.
It's on camera.
It's got to be.
Holding steady.
So yeah, we've got a lot of things to discuss tonight. So let's get right into it. To give you a quick breakdown of what we're doing here. Like I said, this is our Game of the Year 2020 conversations. Now you might be asking, Logan, it's now July somehow. This year is going really fast. It's July. Why are you doing Game of the Year? And the answer is because if we save everything to the end of the year, we talk for way too long. So we are splitting up our conversations throughout the course of the year this time around. We did our first quarter conversation a few months back. You can find that on our YouTube channel now if you want to find everything that we talked about from January to March of this year. And as I said at the top, this is going to be from April to June. So if you are here to watch us talk about Ghost of Tsushima, or I don't know what the heck else is out this month.
Deadly Premonition 2.
Yeah, a lot of
Paper
things
Mario.
are out this month. Strangely enough, like if you check our review sheet, it is massive right now. So yeah, we will not be talking about those things. So June is where the cutoff is at for today. But that said, we have a lot to break down, and not our whole staff is here as well. So obviously, so there might be some games that we get to that we have reviewed and talked about for the site, but we're going to have really no representation of people who have probably actively played some of those games here on this panel. So we might end up skipping right over them pretty quickly. These first few games, though, on our list, to just dive right into it right away, I imagine we will be talking about for a fair amount of time. Top of our list, first game that really released in this quarter was Resident Evil 3 Remake. Ricky reviewed that.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky, you like that game. What'd you give it, an 8.5, I think?
Yeah, 8.5.
How are you feeling about that game now?
It's still really good. I mean, it's not as good as the second one, so I guess that automatically kind of drops it down the list of Game of the Year this year, since we didn't give that our Game of the Year last year. But outside of Nemesis feeling like a worse Mr. X, I thought it was pretty good. The stuff they added in gameplay, the quick dodge with Jill, and also I guess Carlos's punch, I thought it really added a lot and made it a lot more fun to play. But it wasn't as scary as Resident Evil 2, so thing I look for in a game or a Resident Evil game wasn't there as much, but I mean, it's still good.
Are the things that you're talking about Chris Redfield doing suplexes on zombies?
No. I mean, yes, but for a different reason.
No, but yes.
I mean, I still like the first one the best, as far as like what a Resident Evil game is to me. But I mean, 5 is fun, for in its own way.
Bunch of boulder in that game.
In its own way, it's fun. But yeah, I mean, Resident Evil 2 like recaptured that magic that Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube had, and then this third one kind of did the same, but not as well. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it that we haven't already said.
I mean, we've got like a whole discussion up about this game on the YouTube channel as well. So if you guys want to check that out, you definitely can. I will say that this one is not standing out in my mind as much as RE2 did last year as well. So, and like you said, considering RE2 didn't win Game of the Year last year, I don't know if this one in the long term is going to win Game of the Year. I will say it is still one of my favorite games I've played so far this year, but I am also just a huge fan and shill for this series. So you can continue putting Resident Evil slop in front of me left and right. I'm probably going to keep eating it up. Resident Evil 8 looks awesome, by the way, and I am like really obsessed with that game, even though we know nothing about it other than Chris Redfield shoots a lady and there's werewolf.
I think that's confirmed. That's Ethan's girlfriend.
That's what I was gonna say.
I was gonna say, like, isn't it the girlfriend? And I don't even know anything about Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So now this is a Resident Evil 8 podcast. I'm excited for that game though. 3
It's not
though.
Resident
3.
Evil 8, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Resident Evil Village.
Yeah, thank you.
Where there's a Roman numeral 8 in it, but it's not. Don't call it Resident Evil 8, everybody.
Don't do that.
Resident Evil 3, though, yeah, I agree with most of what Ricky said. Nemesis just kind of felt like crud in the game for the most part. A lot of the environments are well designed, though. Getting through the city is cool. I like how it feels like Raccoon City is not like huge. It feels like you really are exploring like a couple blocks of it, and it feels like pretty realistically laid out how they set that city up. But it's more action centered, which is fine. There were some parts of it that didn't work for me, like returning to the police station and stuff like that. I didn't really care for, but otherwise, I didn't love that too much, honestly.
I thought it was, I love Carlos, so that's probably why I liked it. But
I like Carlos, but that was the part of the game that felt most like this is like just an expansion or DLC to me. And I know that's something that Mario brought up as well.
That's
that's fair. I almost wonder if it had been better if it was like an more open world game, and they let Nemesis just come out more randomly, because that was how they kind of build it. Was he could come out anytime, but then it was so like it only happened at set intervals, so you could kind of predict when it was going to happen. So I wish it had been more unpredictable in a way. But
Anybody else want to tag in and say anything about this that we haven't already said?
Now, as much as I want to be the guy that just takes a dump on this game, because I've had some feelings about it when we first did a discussion on it many months ago. But ultimately, I think everything is said to me what you guys said. Feels like an expansion. Doesn't feel like it was worthy of being a 3, even though it is. But nothing. I just wish they made more attempt to expand upon that story and made it more interesting, other than obviously Nemesis, but then the lazy villain that they have in there already. Like, I just wish they made that more fleshed out. But
I mean, that villain was always pretty lazy, though.
But I'm saying
fairness.
They wanted them to. Yeah. You could do better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could just do
I
better.
get it.
For me, during this quarantine leading up to Resident Evil 3, I went through and for the first time beat a bunch of Resident Evils, including the original Resident Evil. I had never beaten it before. So playing a bunch of older Resident Evil games, well, the remake of 1 and then some others, going into 3, like, it was a very fun it was fun, but I missed the puzzles. And I've never played the original 3, but even so, it felt too much just like a shooter, and like everyone else has said, not so much a horror game. And I missed the puzzles and kind of the more thought, the parts of the older other Resident Evil games where you had to kind of rack your brain and figure things out. That's what I missed the most, I want to say, of 3. I still enjoyed it, but from what I hear, could really have afforded to not cut all the so much content out of the remake.
I want to I do want to like. I'm not saying it's anything that because I haven't played the game myself, but just from what I've heard, like I have heard some people that like prefer 3 over 2, and it's just like more just personal preference, obviously. But if I remember correctly, Resident Evil 3 and 2 were supposed to be packaged together, and then they decided Capcom decided against it. So I can kind of see like what like when people say that like, oh like Resident Evil 3 is like a much shorter experience, yada yada yada, like just knowing that was their original plan, packaging both of them together, it makes sense. I'm not saying again that doesn't excuse the game for being a really short experience and all that jazz that you guys are saying, but I just thought I just thought it was worth mentioning.
That makes sense.
No Resident Evil Resistance fans either. I see.
No.
No, I barely played a match.
I tried that once.
It's bad.
Played as Martin Sandwich. Turned it off.
They did that boy wrong.
Still a good name though. That's Resident Evil 3, I guess. We can move on.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Already? Okay.
I mean, these games came out like 4 days apart from one another.
Yeah.
I think Resident Evil was like Friday, and then maybe Final Fantasy was the following Tuesday or something like that. They were pretty close. Or maybe they were a week apart. Anyway, by far one of the year's most popular games. I will not start this discussion. Somebody else can. Cam, go for it.
I am not starting this discussion either.
All right, I'll start it.
So
Oh no.
I guess I don't. It's nothing bad. I thought I'm pretty new to Final Fantasy games, or I've played a lot of them. Like I've played last year I played basically up to the moment of where Final Fantasy 7 Remake kind of cuts. So I kind of had that idea or mentality of like what's going to be happening in Remake, and then I've played like most of 15. I've played like a few Final Fantasy games here and there, but I've never beaten one. So I'm like not super familiar, but so essentially this is like the first Final Fantasy 7 game or Final Fantasy game that I've ever beaten ever. And that's
Yeah, me
I
too.
guess in a way that's saying a lot because none of them have ever really like caught my interest really at all. Like I would just fall off of it. And this one didn't, and I really enjoyed kind of like some of the like side quest stuff, and it was just like a fun grind at the end of the day. There's some things though, like I think the pacing of the story is just like a drag. But for the most part, I really, 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 really liked my time with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like a lot more than I thought I was going to in the end of the day. And then there's like stuff. I mean, you guys have talked about it. I think you guys did like kind of a spoiler-ish thing, Scott. You and Chris.
yeah, Chris and I did a discussion
with like the ending stuff, and I thought that was kind of lame. But for the most part, like they're just
discussion was totally lame.
The ending was kind of lame.
I didn't know the ending. I couldn't remember the ending to Crisis Core, so fuck me, right?
But it's that kind of thing of like you needed to know like certain things from like all of these different games, and I felt like as someone who like thought this was a remake, like going into it is like I have no idea what the hell is going on right now, and I was just lost by the end of it.
Really?
Well, the ending, even if you had played the original Final Fantasy VII, you had no idea what the hell was going on. So that's not a part.
But I guess it's knowing the characters and stuff like that. But then again, I didn't even finish this first 7, so maybe that's part of it too. But I did enjoy it. I think the other part too that I wasn't like super fond of is like, I know this is kind of intrinsic to a JRPG, but like some of those boss battles like really drag. I thought the idea of like how you actually like fight the house, I thought that was really cool and like really fun. But then you're playing it for like 20 minutes and you're like, okay, when's this gonna end now? And it's not like that it's hard or challenging or anything like that. It just keeps on going. You're doing the same loop over and over and over again. So it just kind of drags.
Oh, go ahead.
And that's really it. But otherwise, I think the game is fantastic, and I think the soundtrack is my personal favorite soundtrack of the year so far. And this is a year that a Doom game came out, so
There's a Persona game
and a Persona game. So yeah, like this is by far like my favorite music in a video game right now, and it was really good. It really surprised me for sure. It's definitely one of my favorites from the year.
I can piggyback off of being one of my first. It's my first experience of Final Fantasy VII as a game. The only other experience I've had with it was Advent Children. I just watched it as a kid because cool CGI movie, right? Or at least it was shown off on G4 enough where I'm like, I gotta watch this. But what was that?
So tuck your age in. You said G4 TV.
That's right. Everyone, toot your horns. An angel gets its wings when G4 TV gets mentioned.
Exactly.
But the only Final Fantasy games that I've quote unquote actually finished was Final Fantasy 15. That was the one that actually got me into playing more of the traditional quote unquote, Final Fantasy games. Other than that I played obviously the best Final Fantasy game, which is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on the Game Boy Advance. Otherwise,
Advance, damn good game.
It's fantastic.
Damn good game.
But in terms of this story and a lot of what I was drawn to in the characters was actually how much it reminded me of a Spielberg movie. I'm very much into movies. That's why I'm the guy running the board. So when the game starts talking to me in language that I can understand, like hero stuff and like characters and how they interact with each other, that's what sung the most to me. So getting to know these characters really for the first time and to experience the game, to me was actually a nice welcoming surprise because I ended up really enjoying it. And it made me want to play the old one. What I love, though, is that I can experience this game as a whole new thread because of the way that they've constructed the remake aspect of the story. And by the end of the game, I actually was not confused by the Zack stuff. I'm just going to say that. Spoilers, by the way. Because I immediately equated the logic to the game to the same way I equated the logic to Star Trek 2009 movie, where it's
that's a very good example to compare it to.
Where it's all the flavor that you remember but different and new. And so
and Spock's on an ice planet.
And then he can't go home and he has to go home and procreate on that's later movies. Thanks for that. But as someone coming new to the game and feeling fresh about the mechanics of it, because I've actually had a good time with it, balancing between the three characters that you get and swapping in and out, actually utilizing all three, as opposed to most games, like, unless it's Persona, because Persona also you have to, it just... When I play like a JRPG, like, I only want to play as the one main cool dude. But this one, I wanted to play as all the other characters. Like, I didn't care about... Most games, I just don't care about anybody else other than, like, the main person. But this one, I was like, yeah, I want to play as Cloud, but then I really want to play as Tifa, because if you do these certain things and equip her with these certain things, you can make her OP and fun as hell.
Tifa was like a beast.
Yeah, she's a beast. No RKOs, though. I wish she had had like an RKO match. But ultimately, I don't want to take any more time other than I really appreciate this game. I think it is long, though. I do agree, especially when you start getting to the Shinra building. That's where the game takes the longest, especially when you're in the labs.
I would say it's not necessarily that it's too long. I don't want to get into that whole debate.
No, 100%, because we can talk about that later.
It's more that, like, there are moments in it that I'm like, it's just dragging so much. Like the train yard, I think, is like one of the worst parts of that game. Mm-hmm. It's so boring,
and it's such a detraction too to the story.
Yeah, so it's just stuff like that where it's like, why is this here? Like, why is this happening right now? When like all this super cool action stuff is happening, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's go to this train yard, have this really emotional tale about like a ghost, which is cool in itself, but it's like you're trying to push this narrative of this, like, it's kind of like impending doom kind of stuff. Like, you gotta get this stuff done.
Quick question.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, quick question for the people that have played the original Final Fantasy VII. Does this ghost stuff matter for later stuff?
The ghost stuff is new.
Oh, just new. Okay.
Yeah, you go through a train yard, but the ghost stuff is new.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
the echoes are new. The goat, you do the goat train graveyard in the original game, but the echoes and everything like that, that's all
the time
remake
stuff,
new.
Time stuff I understand. It's just the ghost part where I was hoping, because that felt separate, but I don't know.
You fought ghosts in the train yard, but there wasn't like a boss in the
there wasn't like
Okay.
I was going to go off of what Mario and Michael were saying in terms of, it's also the first Final Fantasy game that I've rolled credits on. And they were both kind of talking about how the pacing gets really weird, the story kind of drags on at certain points, but I think especially like with the Shinra building, but I think there's one specific thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake that I noticed not a lot of other games like it had in terms of usually when a game starts kind of hitting a lull, it doesn't really build itself back up for a while. But I found the moment, excuse me, the moment I was starting to get bored with Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was like, something happened to get me right back in. Like right after the train yard, it's Shinra attacks Sector 7, stuff like that. And I think overall the pacing isn't great. I think the way that they dole out specific action sequences, boss fights, and story moments together when they might know something is getting boring, I think is really well done.
I think I agree with that, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a reason why I rolled credits on it, right? Like, there was something that was keeping me going and keeping me playing it. So, like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't say necessarily it was like the gameplay. I think the gameplay is like really good, but I kind of, and no offense, I kind of chalk it up to as being like good Kingdom Hearts. Like that's how I know you're rolling your eyes, Cam, but that's to me like what it feels like.
Good.
Because I think Kingdom Hearts is like garbage game. I'm sorry, but that's just an opinion. But
I'm here with you, Cam.
Absurd.
We can make it through.
Like I said, it just felt more engaging than that kind of like action style and mixing them both together.
I like the action style.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Final Fantasy VII's remake gameplay is good.
Because I played all the Final Fantasy games and I thought I wasn't gonna like it because I was like, oh man, it's not gonna have turn based. But after playing that, I was like, this is actually pretty good the way they balanced it out and handled it out to us, Final Fantasy fans. I thought it was really good. I thought the pacing was good. It kept me playing nonstop. I was working on this game 13, 14-hour days. Just playing. I was. I mean, you could laugh.
No, that's fine.
I feel you. I beat the game in 3 days. I totally.
I was like, dude, I couldn't put it down, Cam. I was like,
yeah, no.
I would grab an hour of sleep, and I was like, okay, I gotta go play this more. It's like this is good. Like I said, the story was on point. I enjoyed it. I got to talk to one of the voice actors, Britt Barron. She's awesome. I think she did a great job as Tifa.
I was very jealous because I'm a huge fan of Glow.
Yeah, if you go check it out on the platform podcast, go check it out. I'll put the plug in there.
Thanks for coordinating that with me. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, now, it's my game of the year. That and another game.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good too.
I can jump in here because I know we're holding off. Ricky, did you play this game? I don't even remember.
No.
Okay, I didn't. I can jump in because I know we've got Cam and Scott here, like the Final Fantasy JRPG experts, and I know we've had a group of people who are saying that they're first time players of it. So I played Final Fantasy. Cam's ready to defend this. I will be nice though.
Come on, Cam.
No, tell me your thoughts. Like,
So I haven't played the whole game. I'm like probably
How about that?
third of the way through, I would imagine. Hopefully.
what's the last thing that happened in the game?
I honestly can't remember. It's been like a month and a half or 2 months since I played it because I ended up starting Persona.
Do you know at least what chapter you're on?
I fought Bike Boy, the motorcycle.
That is
man.
like
You're
midway
so
to the.
incredibly early. You're incredibly early.
That's like
Anyway,
after
So I'm like 8 hours in, I think, or something like that. I'm a little bit past that. That wasn't the last thing I did. I did some other stuff after that, but I can't remember what. It's around that area. My thing with again, I'm early. Yeah, combat didn't stick out to me in anything that I played, which is whatever. It felt I felt like I had played the game for 5 hours and it was just already getting very cyclical. And I like that there are strategy elements to it and that you can cycle between the characters and that you can kind of mix things up with how you're approaching combat situations. But it just started to feel like I was doing kind of similar tactics in most fights. Pacing wise, I thought the pacing outside of the first blowing up the thing at the start of the game was pretty slow. I know, again, I have not played the original game, so I have no attachment to these characters either. This was kind of me coming into this being like, okay, I've waited to play Final Fantasy VII forever. This is my chance to jump in. People clearly love this game. let me jump on and fall in love with this too or whatever. And like the characters just grated on me, and that's very much probably a personal thing, but just seeing how much people like adore some of the characters, I just totally didn't get. And I know Cloud specifically is like supposed to be a douchebag, and that's like part of his persona, but I found all the characters to be either uninteresting at best early on in what I played. And again, I know I didn't play all of it, and I do actually want to finish the game before the end of the year. Uninteresting at best, or just like annoying at worst. Presentation-wise, I think the game is largely great. Soundtrack is awesome. All the character designs, especially of the main cast, are fantastic. Anybody who's not in the main cast looks terrible, though. NPCs in this game are really not great, I didn't feel like. The world is designed well, though. The thing that I'll say this, the thing that really put me off from this, though, and this is my largest issue with the game, and it's funny because it's my largest issue with the game is kind of deals with the ending, which I know about or whatever, and it really just made me not want to play the game anymore, is because it's really not a remake. Like, this is like a pseudo sequel to the original games.
That's why it's a retelling. I will say that's a retelling.
I mean, the game has presented itself for, when was this revealed? Like 2014 or 15?
2016.
2016? Really?
I think it's 2015.
Yeah,
So it's presented itself as a remake of this game forever. And I'm like, cool, I've never played the original. I want to jump in. And then hearing everybody talk about the ending, and like even somebody like Scott, like you said earlier, like you didn't remember some finer details about Crisis Core, like people jumped on you. Just like hearing these barrier to entry stuff in order to understand the ending, like, oh, well, you didn't watch Advent Children, you didn't play Crisis Core, so you didn't play, you didn't do this, that, or the other. So how can you understand the ending? It's just like, I'm out. I don't want to play this game anymore. The fact that like it was supposed to be a remake of the original, and then you get to the end and it's like, no, you actually need to know some of the other stuff.
I just fundamentally disagree with that, especially as someone who is totally fresh with the game and totally, didn't let those little details go by. Like, sure, I might not on a normal level know what Zack is, but I'm sure I will by when they tell the second part of the story.
But why are they throwing that stuff in?
I'm assuming because that's the continuation of the story. It's going to be telling you something different. I mean, as a person that was like, hey, if I read a comic book, let me do a comic book example. If I'm going to jump in the middle of a story, I should be able to, and just be able to continuously enjoy that story. I don't need to know like the 75
run.
Yeah, like in the middle of a run. If I want to go 75 years back and find out that Namor fought the Human Torch was a robot, it doesn't matter, Like, that's all stuff that's in the background that they're probably going to reference later in the future comic stories as well. So in terms of that, as someone who reads comics, it's just like, yeah, I totally get there's like, sorry, Scott, sorry people attacked you on the finer details of Crisis Core, but I don't know shit about that. I'm not going to play a PSP game. But at the very least, tell me a new version of that story, But then it also got me excited to be like, maybe I should read up on what happened, and then I'll have that context whenever the second game comes. I mean, like, it's all up to personal preference, right? But I just want to bring that up right away because I'm like, I just don't think that matters at the end of the day.
And the stuff that happens with Zack isn't the only thing at the end. Like, that's not the definitive end all be all.
No, not at all.
And I think there's a lot of stuff that they put in there that kind of justifies it. There's a little bit of I don't know what you really call it, like kind of like an epilogue kind of thing that happens. And I think they make it. I've never seen a single frame of Advent Children, and I didn't even know Crisis Core existed until I looked it up. So. And I got the ending, and I think that towards the end, the things that happen, the ways they tell it, make sense. I don't necessarily know if it's like the direction I would have gone, but I think it's definitely really cool to me, at least. But I do think that there's other things to supplement it to make it make more sense.
Yeah, and that's why when I bring up the example of like the Star Trek examples, the same way. The game ends very similar as the Star Trek movie, where they're going into the unknown. Anything could happen at this point. But they're going as a team. They're going together, and that's what I find interesting. Is like, now I can enjoy this on my own without feeling the burden of what came before. It would be nice to know what came before.
Exactly.
Like in the middle of the game, there's like spoilers for the middle. I'm spoiling the game anyways. Sorry, spoilers for all the games that came out so far. There's a cat that just shows up. They don't explain it, and then he disappears, and then that's it. It's like, I'm assuming he will eventually come in the story later.
Yeah, it very much. So this game is very much like has things for both returning players and new players. Like for me, I'm more excited to see people who don't know anything about Final Fantasy VII before this, finding out these revelations that I already know and just seeing how they react to them. Like that's what I'm looking forward to the most. And but like Logan, regarding you with the characters, that's very much like going to change by the time you're done with the game. Like they very much develop. Like you're way too early in the game to like, in my opinion, to even make a fair opinion on how you feel about the characters.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like I put in 8 hours, and it's just like I know people.
Chapter 3 or 4, like out of 18.
I'm like in like 6 or 7 at this point. I know I am.
Have you met Aerith? Have you met Aerith yet?
I met her. I haven't.
No,
gone to her
not
house
like
yet.
extensively. Not like
She's on the street. No, yeah, you're still way too early. Incredibly early.
Way early.
Sorry.
I still played 8 hours of the game, and it's like these things are like true, and it's like it was enough for me to be just like I don't want to play this anymore.
No, I get it. It's a long period of time, but also in terms of Cloud, right? He's a dickhead. I'm just gonna say it right up front. But he's in the dickhead in the same way that Mad Max is a dickhead, where Mad Max is this singular character. He's only has one emotion, which is gruff, until he gets involved in other things, like Aerith, for instance, and then he starts to bring down that exterior and slowly becomes about something in the same way that Mad Max is. Now, from where you're at in the story, he's not there yet. I will say that if you do decide to progress forward, he does get there. But I get that 8 hours of it is probably a lot.
Well, it was just for me. I mean, to finish my whole talking point on all this, and I'll hand it off to you, Cam, because this is just kind of where I'm at right now. I do want to go back to the game. I do want to finish it. The main reasons I stopped, though, were just I felt like I totally was like on a completely different wavelength with this game compared to everybody else. I wasn't understanding like any reason why people were losing their minds over it to the same degree. Nothing was really clicking with me, and just I've totally lost my train of thought when I was trying to talk about this. Anyway, I want to finish it. I think the conversation around it ruined it to a certain degree, just because there's so many people. It was just expectations, and so I was expecting way more. And so I get in, and I'm like, I don't really dig the combat. I don't really like these characters so far. When does this get good? When does this reach the point where everybody's losing their minds?
We have the same conversation at the end of this, very strongly.
Pokemon Cafe mix, obviously.
That's right.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is by far my game of the year at this point of the year. I think that, again, it has something for new players as well as old players. It's really just talking to like Khalif Adams, who knows nothing about Final Fantasy or like Final Fantasy VII, and like and just telling him like you just gotta wait. Like it's there, it's coming. Like you just gotta wait. And I understand that like it sucks that this is a story and a project that's going to go into multiple parts, but the payoff like it's going to be 100% worth it. Based off of because I still think that even though there are going to be differences moving forward, like anything can happen, I think a lot of the big plot points and moments are still going to be present. So that like the things that make Final Fantasy VII so beloved and so renowned to this day will still be there. Like without going into spoilers, but like, and there are people that complaining about like just like the idea of like, oh, this isn't a remake, this is like a somewhat like alternate timeline like thing where spoilers like comes back from the past or something and is trying to actually win this time and like and things like that. But it's one of those things like a lot of the things that make Final Fantasy VII great, the original, would not work if it was a straight up retelling like people wanted or thought it would be. Like Sephiroth, we know who Sephiroth is now. Like he's one of the most iconic video game villains of all time. Him showing up like halfway through the game for the first time for real is not going to be compelling this time around. It's going to be like, no, where the fuck is Sephiroth? And that's why they put him in the beginning of this game, because there's like an interview with Katase, who was a producer of this game, original director of the first game, and he said like putting Sephiroth that like late in the game and like in this project would not work because like his motivation behind Sephiroth was like Jaws, the shark and the shark in Jaws, where it's just like this slow rise until the reveal of sorts. And yeah, so I think that a lot of the things that I get that you're saying, Logan, you just got to play more. And I'm sorry, like I know that 8 hours, I don't like being that person saying like, oh, you just got to keep playing until it gets good. I hate that. But in this situation, that is the case. Like, I think that within a few more chapters, you're going to love all the you're going to love all the main cast of characters, especially Barrett. Barrett is the MVP of this game, for sure. And I know that a lot of people both from the original and when the remake was still kind of being in its cycle, were like were not liking Barrett because like of his stereotypes and things like that his original was based off of. But he is the best character in this game, 100%. In my opinion, from a character standpoint. Yeah, exactly. And again, like the technical aspects of the game are great. The NPCs and the environments sometimes don't look too great. I think the combat
What's the kid with the monocle's name? Chadley.
Oh, Chadley.
That kid deserves a swirly. I think I tweeted that in the DualShockers account. He just looks like a huge geek.
I agree. Fuck that kid.
He's nice. He's nice.
Yeah.
Hello, I am 8 years old and I wear a monocle and I work for Shinra.
Weren't you? You guys were bullies in high school, weren't you? Anyway.
No, I was Chadley. That's why I want to see him get a swirly.
No. And like with the combat, like I don't know how far the combat has progressed, like in what you can do and like the abilities that you have, but like I think that there's just so much depth to the combat system with the materia, getting new weapons, which like you use them, and then you get a new move, which is cool because even though it may not be your playstyle, it encourages you, hey, try this weapon out, and maybe you'll like it, because for me, I'm like Barrett, I always wanted Barrett to be long range, but you get weapons later where you can attack, in melee, but I still had to play that way to get those new abilities. And then, there's a chance that like, oh, maybe I do like Barrett being a melee character instead of a range character. And with the boss fights, like Hell House, that boss fight in particular is just a very specific way to effectively beat him, coming from someone who played through the game on hard, and the game is the combat very much opens up to show even how much more depth the combat system has, and the flexibility that you can have to win a fight, because in the hard mode you don't get MP, you don't get to recharge MP through benches or anything like that, so you have to rely a lot more on your abilities and things like that, which also broadens that as well. And then with the pacing, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the pacing. I didn't really have an issue with the pacing. I thought it was good. Like something action-packed happened, and then, hey, let's take a break. Let's work more on character development. Let's work on world building, and then let's get back into the action. And it kind of does it a little bit back and forth, but I thought the pacing was fine. Like, it's a JRPG. Like, it's not always going to be filled with action. Like you want to have these moments to talk to you see these characters talk to each other and like get their relationship builds, and that happens in the action too, but I think it's more powerful when it's quiet, you know what I mean? So yeah, and then I know that people aren't a big fan of the side quests, and I do think some of them aren't great, but I definitely think that they're the best they could be based off of what they were trying to do with this game and build the world of Midgar. But yeah, that's kind of like how I feel about it. I think the game is phenomenal overall, and I'm looking forward to the next game. I don't know if Scott had anything to say.
Well,
What have you learned about
Have you
Crisis
played
Core?
Crisis Core since the last time you talked about this game?
I haven't, but in regards to the whole Crisis Core thing, I don't think you needed, and the ending specifically, I don't think you needed to play the other kind of side games to get the ending.
Don't.
I agree with that. It was just, I misremembered kind of the sequence of events in the Zack part, which is kind of like an epilogue / secret-ish ending. I think everything before that part is the ending, with the Zack part being like a teaser. But I think that it sets up a really good, it's a really good base game that they can then further develop and refine in the subsequent games. I will agree there are parts where the pacing just falls flat. Particularly going back into the sewers, I hated that part. That seemed incredibly just padding to me.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the side quests or interacting with people in the various sectors, like Sector 7, that's all side quests. So if you thought it was dragging on, you didn't have to do it.
Yep.
But I enjoyed this combat. I hope they flesh it out a bit more going forward. But honestly, if you guys really want to talk about crappy pacing, we can go straight into Last of Us 2. I mean, I'm fine with that.
I love Last of Us 2, but I do not disagree with that at all.
One last thing.
I just had to throw that in there because that everyone was talking about the pacing of 7.
I think the two best games on this list probably have the worst pacing in all of
I do want to say like one last thing. Like, I think the coolest thing about this game, from a narrative perspective, is that there are things for returning players and there are things for new players. Like, yeah, for the people that are new, like, who is Zach? Who is this person? Like, why is he with Cloud? What is Cloud's like connection to this character? But then for me, it's just like but for me, I'm just like, wait, like, Zach is alive? Like, I already know what is supposed to originally happen. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need to know. But then, like, if you don't know Zach, then you don't know that, like, hey, he's supposed to be dead at this point. And all that jazz. So I also think that there's and just like I know that a lot of people have problems with the whispers, which are like the ghosts, the spectral beings.
Whispers, that's it, not echoes. Fuck, I'm gonna have the internet jumping down my throat because I called them echoes. Damn it!
You fucked up again.
At least I don't have corona this time.
But the whispers are the whispers are really cool and really kind of, but weird at the same time, because the whispers are definitely more for the people that have played the original Final Fantasy VII, which I think kind of detriments them in a sense, because there are like things that you may not notice, especially even me as a returning player, that I didn't notice the first time. Like, because like originally in the original Final Fantasy, just a quick example, like Cloud was supposed to go on the second bombing run like straight away, but in this one, Barrett's like, you're not coming. We're done here, and you can do what you want. But then the whispers attack and fuck up Jessie's leg, making her unable to go. So Cloud goes instead. That was because they wanted to make sure that Cloud went on the bombing run like he was supposed to. Like, that is fucking awesome. Like, you know what I mean? But like, people that haven't played the original would not know that. You know, it's just like, oh, okay, like these things attack Jessie for some reason, and now Cloud's going. Okay, sure. But like, if you actually know the story, in that one sense, like, that is really cool, and that is an ongoing thing that happens throughout the story more straightforwardly. But that's kind of like one of those hard reaches, like that if you didn't really pay attention, you wouldn't have known. So, and that's like, I think, a really cool aspect for returning players, but also kind of like a detriment for new players.
See, that's
overall, I still think it's cool.
See, that's another thing I wanted to add to what kind of Cam said. Since I've played all the original Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy VII, especially the original, they gave so much character depth into the side characters, like Jessie, Wedge, and the Charlie Sheen dude. Can't think of his name right now. The one that looked like Charlie Sheen. Biggs, yes. They gave them voices. They gave more character depth. That was amazing that they gave them all that. Gave them a backstory.
All right, we're done talking about Final Fantasy VII.
No.
I mean, let me just all in the conversation by just saying, best thing I could say about the game is Tifa's pretty hot. I'll just throw that out there.
Tifa is goddamn hot.
Tifa, Aerith, and Jesse.
I'm Aerith all the way, baby. Though. Sorry.
Tifa with glasses. Did you
Jesse,
see? When it happened on Twitter, I was just like, "Lord, give me strength."
You know, it's Sephiroth's mother, Bay.
Sephiroth's mother. I think I know who that is. Is his mom actually in the game, or are you making a dumb joke?
No, she is.
She's kind of.
Is it the apartment lady?
No, you'll see.
No.
You'll see.
I will replay it. I will finish this game.
He's joking, but he's not joking at the same time.
No, I'm not. I'm actually.
He met me.
You should be glad.
I'm talking about Mario. I'm talking about Mario.
You met me.
What he said about the mood thing.
It's actually a really good thing that I did stop playing it, because what I ditched it for was Persona, which I now love. So I mean, I didn't ditch it for some like trash video game.
You traded up.
What do you mean? We played Resident Evil 6. What are you talking about?
I don't think he traded up. I think they're both equally good for different reasons.
Persona got a better soundtrack even.
No.
No.
No. I'm that mean, my
Mario.
No.
7 Remake had some damn good tracks, but I think as an overall package, Persona 5 Royal.
No. Final Fantasy 7's like
Persona 5 Royale is just
Makoto's way better than Tifa.
no.
Hell yeah.
Persona 5 Royale is just DLC.
No, it's not.
You just broke Cam.
That's
we just lost him.
so
Hold on.
wrong. And
Try to
so
mess
no.
up the convo. Let's move on quickly before we get in trouble.
The greatest joke I've ever heard in my entire life. Good joke, Logan.
I do legitimately like Makoto, but we don't have to get on that.
Oh god.
Final Fantasy 7. I guess I mean it's gonna be on our game of the year near the end when we actually decide. So
Yep.
there. Our review score of that was an 8.5. Chris, I don't even know how to say his last name.
Cuddlies.
Delphire.
Oh no.
Delphire. You're right. No,
it's
Chris
Cuddlies.
Cornelius. What Delphire is his Discord username. Not his last name. If everybody's last name was their Discord username, that'd be an interesting world. Next game up on our list was also reviewed. Go for it.
I just want to say one very small thing. I really like that. Every character is like in a party with one of the other characters at least once throughout the story. I just thought that was really cool. That does happen. Like out of the four party members, they're all like together at least once, like in pairs and stuff like that.
That is also part of the game where I feel as long. Anyways, continue.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't touch on the honey bee situation. That was awesome.
Greatest thing I've ever seen in a video game.
Exactly, that was amazing.
That's just Yakuza and one like.
No, it's not yet. No.
Yakuza and everything.
Yeah,
Shut up.
Honeybee in section. It's pretty much.
I only cried once in this game, and I thought I was going to cry numerous times. I cried once. It was during the Honeybee Inn segment because of how perfect it was. Not even any of the emotional shit.
I cried with Aerith at the schoolyard.
It's a really good part. I totally agree with Cam.
And I saw like all these like videos that people tore down the music for money and put their own spin on the music.
We did talk about what dress did you guys get? What dress did you guys get to wear?
Let's talk about Fort Triumph right now.
Let's talk about dresses.
Exactly. Chris, I mean, this is on our list. So if you're watching this at home, you might not know something we're going to talk about. Fort Triumph, it was like a strategy tactics game, similar to XCOM. Chris Corliss reviewed it for us, gave it a 6 out of 10. I could not tell you anything else about this game, and I guess it's not going to be Game of the Year material. I don't think anybody here played it there. So
I've never even heard of this game until I saw the list like an hour ago.
Yeah, that was a graveyard game that Chris jumped on. So. No one knows what that is that's listening to this.
Nobody knows what that
means. Trials of Mana was one that Miss Alyssa James reviewed. Gave it an 8 out of 10. She liked it. Did anybody else here play this one? Scott did. Did you play it as well, Cam? Scott, what did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. I think it's a solid game to try and reinvigorate the franchise. It has some of the most inconsistent, god-awful voice acting in a modern game I've played. but I thought the combat was really good. I think it has a lot of really good replay. Has a lot, very large amount of replayability to it. I actually finally beat it for the first time a couple weeks ago. Had a lot of fun with it. It's a fun action RPG series. I want to go back and replay the retro version in the collection of mana. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. But my biggest takeaway was voice acting desperately needs to be locked down and made better going forward. And I hope that we do get another. I hope we get a new Mana game, kind of in the style of Trials of Mana, just with better production values. So, really fun.
So I haven't played it since launch, but I did play it at PAX West last year, and I know that that's a long time and stuff like that. But I just kind of like want to put my still thoughts on what I experienced, not from a technical aspect, but for other things. I didn't really care for the combat that much. I thought the combat was rather bland for a JRPG. And I also, the 3D art style like that they use really rubs me the wrong way, because it feels just like a lesser Dragon Quest in that sense. And I wasn't. I think the environments looked great though. And it was just the art style that really turned me off when I played it, because it just reminded me of a lesser Dragon Quest. And
I mean that is the art style of the Mana series. Like, it was a pretty faithful recreation of the Mana art style. Like, even the characters. Like, if you look up actual like
2D?
drawings and stuff, if you look up like drawings and stuff of the characters, that's accurate. So
sure. I mean, that's fine. I just I don't know. I just feel like that the Mana series, at least back, I'm not a big retro gamer, but I just feel like that the Mana series had more like backing behind Square Enix as a franchise, that like I just expected a bigger budget, I guess. I expected more effort or like money to be put into the project. That I don't know. I expected it to be not anything like Final Fantasy VII Remake, but something along the lines of like a Dragon Quest game. And I don't feel.
God no. Dragon Quest shuts down Japan. Like, it might not be as big here, but Dragon Quest will.
I'm not talking about following wise. I'm talking about production value.
No, exactly. There is no way that Square Enix would invest anywhere near the amount of money in a franchise that's been fairly low in ratings and reception, the same amount of money they would put into a Dragon Quest title. Like,
well, the original Mana series games were well received, weren't they?
That was like 20 years ago. If you look at the reception of the mobile ports of Adventure of Mana or Secret of Mana, those didn't do anywhere near as well. And if you look at like the last main Mana series, you're looking at Children of Mana, I want to say, on DS. Even that didn't do good. I mean, the Mana series, along with Saga, Saga's come back a bit, but Mana series has been like on life support probably for the past 10 years. There is, considering the quality we did get with the Trials of Mana remake, we did get that is a good. They sunk a lot of money into that. They sunk more money into that than I was expecting them to.
If that's the case, I just feel like that it would have been better if they just did a remaster of the original or something like that. Which, I mean, that's what Collection of Mana is anyway. So like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little. I don't know. Maybe it's just unnecessary. I don't know. I don't know. That's just basically based off my short time experiencing it, and I played the demo on Switch and all that too. So I don't know. I thought that like just through word of mouth, I felt that the Mana series was more significant than
it
actually is. So
it was.
Do they still legitimately shut down the country when Dragon Quest comes out over there? Like, it's a national holiday. Dragon Quest comes out.
They release them on the weekends now because of that reason.
It's so crazy.
I learned about this in college. Like, from the 90s on, when Dragon Quest came out, they would essentially, no one would go to work. Like, it was just like an official holiday.
That's amazing.
Wild stuff.
Yeah. They need to put 4 through 9 on the Switch. Because all of them are on the DS or 3DS right now, and I'm just like, for like $100 plus for a new copy, and I'm like, please, no.
There's a lot of old games like that trapped on old systems. Anyway, Trials of
They
Mana.
could bring the SNES, or I mean, they have the mobile versions of 4 through 6.
Yeah, but who wants to play on mobile?
That's what Square will give you, though. It's the same people that say they want Final Fantasy VI on Switch. It's just going to be the godforsaken, ugly ass Steam/mobile version.
That's
They don't know what they're asking.
$14.99 a piece.
They don't know what they're asking.
XCOM Chimera Squad. Did anybody here play this? There's like a new XCOM game that fell out of the sky for $10 out of nowhere.
I've heard it's pretty all right for what it is, and
Give it an 8 out of 10.
tries to do some interesting things with that game.
Yeah,
But that's all I know about it.
yeah. I think there's more like a narrative involved in it this time around.
I've heard it's like XCOM, the Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been meaning to play it. It's not actually that much money, so I wanted to try it out, but yeah,
I'm gonna wait for it's on sale.
It was legit. I think it's $20, and I think when they announced it, it was half off. So you could.
It was
Oh,
also
that's what it
I
was.
think for the Steam sale that just ended, I think it was like $15. So it was on sale not that long ago.
Chimera Squad. We gave it an 8 out of 10. Chris reviewed that one again. So he reviewed Fort Triumph was an XCOM ripoff and gave that a 6, and then he gave the actual XCOM an 8. He generally liked it. His review is also really well detailed, so I encourage you to go check that out if you would like over on the website. Otherwise, we can move on to the next game, Soccer Wars, which is another game that I don't think any of us have played. Ian reviewed it. This is like
That's his bread and butter. He would send me stuff every week to post on the YouTube channel for that game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm the person who edits all of our reviews, and so I read most of what goes up. This is like one of the most detailed reviews we've put out in a very, very, very long time. He did an extremely in-depth analysis of this game. I wish Ian reviewed more games because he's so knowledgeable about this stuff, but it's a very huge undertaking for him when he does, because he just goes way above and beyond. So he really liked Soccer Wars. I think he gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Yes, he did. I would encourage you to read his review on the site. I don't think anybody here played it either, did you?
I was considering getting it, like when it was on, like I was taking advantage of like a buy two get one, but then I kind of just looked at the general reviews, and it just kind of seemed that it was like it's a above average JRPG, but nothing to really gawk about. So I just kind of I thought to just wait on it and look at it later.
Yeah. I can't talk much about it. I don't think anybody else here can. But there's a lot of Japanese games and tactics games in April here, which is kind of strange. And then Predators thrown in the mix.
Hell yeah.
You mean game of the year?
The next game up on our list is Gears Tactics, which Ryan reviewed and he liked. He gave it an 8 out of 10. This is the Gears of War spin on XCOM. Way too many strategy tactics games early part of this year. Ryan generally liked this one as well. He had a lot of positive things to say about it. Campaign in this game's pretty long. He said he liked how it tied into the larger series. He enjoyed the boss fights and things like that. He said it generally translated pretty well compared to what you're used to playing in the third-person shooter games in the series, and it felt like the decisions that they made to translate that to the tactics genre actually went really well. Has anybody here played? I'm holding out to play this on my Xbox.
Yeah, I played it on PC.
I've played
I played a little bit of it.
Yeah, I really enjoy the game. As someone who, I'm the most casual when it comes to the tactics games, unless it's Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, where it has to be similar to that style. The only other game that got me really into this kind of games is the Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle game. It's actually a really solid game. Let's talk about that game for a minute. So luckily, playing that is like baby's first XCOM game, to then transitioning to something like Gears of War. I do believe, I actually found the way that the two type of games meld with the story and obviously the mechanics of, say, like the third person cover shooter, but applying it to the tactics, I think actually was a really well done example of something that could be converted into something much more fun. I almost want to say more fun than the actual shooting game that you can play, because
That's good. Okay.
yeah, the fact that, you know, if you're a Lancer person, you have mobility, so you can shoot things from far away, or if they get too close, you can chainsaw, of course. There's multiple actions that are similar to like all the Overwatchy stuff that you get from all of, from my example, Kingdom Battles, but I assume also from XCOM. Story-wise, it's cool that it actually is, I guess, somewhat crucial for some details that you learn about main characters in 4 and 5, but ultimately, the characters to me didn't really mean much. It's cool that it is a continuous story. I mean, I'm sure that's something similar in the XCOM games, but not every character is disposable yet, like hero characters that continue the story. And of course, you get Coltrane, which is fun. But yeah, as someone who's like very novice into these type of games, I did have a good chime with it. It gets long. Some battles sometimes can go on for quite a bit, and that's why I've had to take a break from it. I do plan to finish it by the end of the year, though.
Whoever else, other people talked about it.
I mean, I played only like the first 2 missions, so like there's like a tutorial mission and then there's a mission after that. And just to echo what you were talking about with in Ryan's review, and Ryan has like talked to me about, it's just, yeah, I think it really translates the gameplay, the third-person action gameplay of Gears of War really well into a tactics game. I think it's done like incredibly well. There's not really much of the story that I could speak of. I mean, I know it's Kate Diaz's
Father.
dad.
Yeah.
Which is
Oh,
cool.
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes place pre Gears 1.
Gears Worn.
Yeah, it's
right?
pre Gears 1. Yeah.
Or Judgment.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Like I want to finish it by the end of the year for sure. I just don't know. Like again, like we're talking about game of the year stuff. I don't know if it's gonna end up hanging, but it's definitely a really solid tactics game that probably, like, especially if you're like new to it. I felt like I'm not like super experienced in it. I've played like a few tactics games here and there, but as someone who's like kind of inexperienced, like what Mario was saying, like it's super easy to get into, and knowing like if you've played Gears of War, which I'm pretty sure many of us have, like you kind of understand like the like vernacular, like the language that they use in it too. So it's a good game, like for sure. I think it's a really solid tactics game.
So Gears Tactics was actually my first Gears game. And
There you go.
I actually really liked it too. I rolled credits on it, and just like everyone else has talked about it so far, the only other strategy game like it I've played is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and I found the game to be really interesting. It adds a lot of stuff on top of the things that I knew from that game, and it changed some of the things I knew about it, but also I think some of the boss fights were really cool. Mm-hmm. And I found myself, like, especially like later in the game, once I was like really in tune with all of the different characters' abilities and how you can kind of chain things together and get like 8 actions at a time or something, I found that like super rewarding, super addictive. And well, I think that there were only 3 boss fights, so I felt like they could have done better at maybe changing the story or something, because the story is really just a vehicle for the gameplay. So I think it would have been cool if they had given more boss fights in the main game. But I also, one of the other things that kind of annoyed me that made the game probably longer than it had to be, but also made those parts of gameplay less fun, was later in the game there will be missions that you have to send your like main party members on, and then you'll have to complete other missions, and then those party members won't come back until you're done with like say 3 missions.
Yeah.
So then you kind of lose that flow that you've developed. And while I understand like the reasoning behind that, it would get too easy if they didn't have that. It's ultimately kind of unsatisfying. Well, it does encourage you to try something new.
I also named all my people as wrestlers. So I had Chris Jericho as a sniper. It was awesome.
It looks cool. I wonder when the Xbox version's coming out.
I honestly think you would like it better on PC though, because it's just the mouse controls. I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably would. Yeah, but
Yeah.
There's also controller support on PC.
There is controller support.
that's one thing I can touch up on. That was like actually the first game I actually played when I got my PC was Gears Tactics, and I've done it with the controller and I've done it with the mouse and keyboard. It's 10 times better with mouse and keyboard. But the story is decent. It's a Gears story. I like how they did the third person, went way over from third person to like the whole strategy RTS style of the game. It was really good and well put together.
Cool. Gears Tactics. Yeah, my thing is about the PC games. This sounds stupid considering I played
PC games.
I don't want to think about how many hours I played League of Legends last year. Is that when I work all day at my desk, when I get off, I don't want to play games at my desk. That's a bad feeling sometimes.
That's a lie.
And then I play League. And I play League. I mean, seriously though, the thing about me playing League is I hate myself. So
That's because you've got like 8,000 hours.
Admitting it is the first step to recovery.
So
That's right.
I guess.
This is intervention,
yeah.
by the way, Logan. Just so you know, we brought all your friends.
halfway through, we're gonna talk about. I mean, there's a Riot Games title we have to talk about on the year. Gears Tactics. Let's talk about Predator hunting grounds.
Let's go.
If there was a category for best in-game like loot, it would be Predator Hunting Grounds because they got Predlocks in this game, and that's amazing.
They got Predlocks, my man.
Item of the year. Predlocks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No, this game's bad, but
This game's bad. You just go straight up the game. This game's bad.
but you know, I really do enjoy it. Like, it's mostly because I tie it more to playing games with Mario.
Yeah.
So like if we were, I've had a super fun time playing it. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not really that great of a shooter.
No.
Controlling Predator doesn't really feel all that great either. I will say that they kind of like, it kind of does make, like, when you play as Predator, you kind of do feel like the Predator, which is kind of rad. But
It really makes you feel like the Predator.
yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, man, it's not great. It's fun to play with friends though. Like Logan, when you, me, and Tomas, and I think Mario,
Yeah, I was there.
and I forgot who else.
I was there.
I forgot who else was with us. But yeah, when we were playing, it was so much fun. Like, it was such a good time. But we were kind of just laughing at like all the random like objectives that you have. Like, kill these men at this weed farm. We're like, what? Why?
Plant the fake drugs on the drug lord or something like that. It's like, what?
Like,
what are we doing exactly?
What's even happening?
Yeah.
Why is the Predator
Running around the middle of the jungle that's in the middle of nowhere, and you're doing these tasks that make literally no sense.
Yeah.
And then a big dreadlock alien shows up and starts trying to claw you all apart. It makes no sense. The game is really stupid. The game's terrible, but I will say that I have not played the full game. I don't know if it has gotten better, Mario.
not the same? Roughly.
Good to hear, actually. That when we played the beta, that was like some of the most fun I have probably had in a video game this year.
It was super.
And it was because it was so bad.
Yes. 100%.
I will say too, like, I think Mario could probably speak more to this, but
yeah.
like also adding like the Arnold stuff in there is like super interesting.
I just bought
I didn't even launch with that. That seems like a huge missed opportunity.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I get that they want you want to
Nether
keep
Realms had an exclusivity deal for digital Arnold.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Arnold actually did like the voiceover in it
Yes.
in this game, in the Predator game. He didn't do the voice for the Mortal Kombat game,
No.
which
No,
is
he didn't.
interesting. Very
he recorded some voice lines while chilling out with his donkey that he's got in his quarantine home.
Dude, I can believe it because some of the in-game collectibles you get is these. You unlock them. They're tapes that you clearly just like Arnold sitting at his table smoking a cigar. You can even hear the cigar in the tape. It's so genius. But you know that donkey's in the background. Yeah, I love this game. It is the worst game that I love. This game.
I'm with Mario.
Yeah,
like,
this-
Put it on a box.
And what else? Oh, thank you. Yes, please put that on the box. But basically, this game is to me only good with friends. Having Mike around, having some other friends. I played with a Twitch streamer named Heel Christine. We had such a blast just running around the forest, protecting each other, trying to scope out, because you have a wheel of different little quips. So if I play as Arnold, so of course I'm going to get to the chopper 1,000 times. It's the best.
Great.
Mudding each other up to like make sure that the predator can't see you. Sometimes the predator will get stuck and you just shoot him to death, and it's so great. Yeah, no, as a game, and this is what I felt about Friday the 13th. Even that game has problems, but man, if you play with friends, it just sings. Just having that ability to goof around and sort of like just be this ragtag group of people that would go into the forest and complete weird odd jobs while a guy comes running at you with like a giant metal mask. The game is hella broken, especially when it comes to like unlockables. You constantly see like you have like 47 unlockables, but you don't know where they are or how to get them. Progressing to get like different things as the predator is ridiculous. However, though, this is the one game where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna pay $6.99 to get Dutch, aka Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I also paid $6.99 to have a samurai version of freaking the Predator.
I was gonna say that samurai Predator looks super cool,
and I bought it, and I look cool when I play him. But I will say this has so many technical issues that just look so bad, especially when I play games like Last of Us and stuff like that just looks so good. Like for instance,
This looks like a PS3 game.
It looks like a PS3 game, and it's primarily because like I'm not super technical, but is it anti-aliasing? I don't know. Just trees look terrible in this game. The distance looks terrible. But when I play like Last of Us, I'm like, why doesn't this look like that? The greens on this game look freaking amazing. Why does it look like poop? The other thing that I had a lot of issues with, obviously, is because I have a laptop and my computer can run it, but for some reason it only runs at a certain aspect ratio on my laptop versus when I play it on here. So I don't know, man. I've had so many stupid, dumb problems with the game. But I keep playing and I keep going back to it. I can't wait for the next drop that comes out in the next couple months. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this at the end.
Add Carl Weathers.
Yeah, I hope it's Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers' son, so that way you can bring him back.
If you could run as Arnold and I could run as Carl Weathers, that'd be.
Dude.
And I could run as Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, heck yeah. Dude.
You can wear the hat and get the chain gun. The closest thing you can get to. Otherwise,
that sounds like game of the year. Honestly,
that's all I'm saying, man. If whenever I get these streams started going on either the Twitch or the YouTube channel, I'm gonna be playing Predator a lot. I'm just gonna say that.
In all seriousness, like obviously this is not gonna be like a game of the year contender. Like obviously,
but unless the games don't come out this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Cyberpunk keeps getting delayed, so you never know.
But it is super fun, and I think if you have friends to play it with, I think you should try it out because it is like just dumb fun. It is.
What's funny? It's fun to all be in like a voice channel, and you got like 3 or 4 people who are on the I don't even know what side you are. The mercenary side. I was gonna say drug planting side. You got 3 or 4 people on that side, and you got a predator, and you're all in the same voice channel, and you're like, "Where are you, predator?" And you hear somebody else in the chat like, "Oh."
You're like, oh, the predator's here.
Yeah, it's like.
I need to see if the cross-play, like cross-party system working.
They need to
fix that because right now it's cross-play. You can play against PS4 players, but you can't play in the same party.
Oh, that's stupid.
It's coming, but it should have been there day one.
Well, they advertised that it was
at day one, but yeah, it's coming.
And then it just didn't work.
No.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that should have been here day one in this game.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I love this stupid game. It's my second favorite multiplayer game to play. Force being, of course, Warzone with Cam. That was for you to respond, Cam. Never mind. Continue.
Wait, what? What?
We totally dazed the fuck out.
Wait, what?
Like playing Warzone.
What do we? Oh, it found?
No. I said. Well,
Oh, what? What are you talking about?
I said Warzone is my favorite game.
You like to play Warzone with you. I said that's the most fun to play Warzone.
Oh yeah, we like to play Warzone. Yeah, Warzone's fun.
Next game, please. Next game, please.
Did Warzone come out this year?
Yes.
That
was last quarter. That was last video.
Yeah. I wasn't
last video.
Talked about it last video.
Yeah, that night I played with you and Cam, Mario, it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
All right.
Then I uninstalled Warzone because it's like 200 gigs now, and I'm like, fuck that shit. Like,
yeah, I knew that.
Not
You're not wrong, dog. I'm sorry.
I'm getting there myself. So that was Predator. Yeah. Maybe I should buy that too. I don't know.
Dude, I've been.
Actually, I really should
listen,
buy it.
I tried to buy it for Mike. He wouldn't take it. I will pay for it for you.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. It's okay.
I'll do half.
Do it.
Streets of Rage 4. Did anybody play this game?
I played a level of it.
Yep.
I previewed it a long time ago.
Mike Long, what'd you think?
I played it, beat it, and I loved it. It's like love letter to series. If you played any of the Street Rage games, you'll love this. It's just a throwback to the series and straight love letter. That's all I can say to it. I mean, it's good gameplay, good soundtrack. The characters are good. I enjoyed the combat. I like the they added you can play with online people, with other people, because that was the first they ever did that in any of the Street Rage games, where they added co-op. Great game. You should play it.
Yeah, for what I played just the first level, beat the first boss. I agree. I think the music's actually pretty solid. I had heard people criticize the game, but honestly, I'd listen to that soundtrack. The art style also looks fantastic, very painterly. Well, not watercolory, but in the style of like where I would see like a cartoon almost. I did hear though that the more you play the game, you can actually unlock some of the original sprite characters, and they probably do have their own abilities too, which is kind of cool. It's definitely a game I want to play with friends. I just don't have enough people that want to play it, but I think I'm just gonna try solo it, just because I kind of dug it. I kind of like. It's funny. These are games that I'm like, I don't like I've never played any of the other Streets of Rage, or I've never played like River City Ransom or any of that. But yeah, I played the hell out of Double Dragon. Yeah, I played the hell out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. I played the hell out of the X-Men game. So these games are in my blood, but I just never feel like I'm a fan of them until something like this, or like Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is the game that
Scott Pilgrim's so
just
good.
brought it out of me. I mean, I was already a get because I love the books and the movie, but the game is still phenomenal, and the music, the Amagamaguchi movie music is so fantastic. But I think that if you are even inclined to trying a beat 'em up, especially if you like to play with friends, even locally or co-op online, I definitely think worth a shot. It's on Game Pass. Definitely worth, I think, some time. Same thing with Gears Tactics, by the way. It's on Game Pass too, so go play that as well.
Only on PC though.
Only on PC.
Yeah.
You ever play Spider-Man Separation Anxiety for the Sega Genesis?
No,
Can't say I
I
have.
remember on Super Nintendo.
That's a brawler I played when I was a kid. It's like one of the few brawlers I played. It was bad. There was like a lot of weird symbiotes in that game. I don't know if it's canon. Actually, I think it is canon, because I remember when Venom 2 was being talked about, everybody was like, I hope they add this symbiote. I'm like, that's not a real symbiote. It's not real.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Venom's
one,
children or something. The one's
Yeah.
stripped from Venom or whatever in the comics. Yeah.
Yeah. Streets of Rage 4. Pretty good, I guess, if you like brawlers. Ricky, Super Mega Baseball 3. Do you want to say anything drastic about this one?
No, I mean it's a fine action baseball game. I renamed all my players after backyard baseball characters, so that was fun. That's about the best thing I can say about it. It's fun hitting dingers with Pablo
How good was
Sanchez.
how good was your Pablo Sanchez?
He was S tier. He's as good as he can be. Everything perfect.
How about Pete Wheeler?
Fast.
Fast.
I don't know what
Dumb.
people are saying.
What's Kenny's
Right.
last name?
Kawaguchi.
Omega.
Okay. So that was my first thought. I was like, wait, that's not it. That's not it. I never got into these games, and I'm probably the only other baseball person here who'd play these, and I've been meaning to give them a shot. They look fun.
They are fun. It's fun. I mean, it's not. I wish it was deeper. I wish they had like special pitches and stuff like backyard baseball does, but they
It's a
haven't
different.
gone all the way into the adventure or the action style of sports that I like, where there's special power ups and stuff. But maybe next time. I don't know. I would like that or a career mode. That'd be fun, like a story mode.
They've slowly added more and more to these games in each entry. Like, it's definitely a very small team that works on these, and it's kind of a love letter to games of that type. And they keep adding more. So maybe by the 5th installment, they will get those things in there that you're looking for. But definitely seems solid. I think this one might be on Game Pass too. I'm not certain about that though. So
I think you're right.
It is. I think it is.
That sounds right.
I think it maybe came day and date. And if not, I know it's only like, this is like $40 actually. Now I think about it. I think they charged a little more this time around. But
It's good. It has online play, and I know some people really like that. So
there you go. Baseball. If you miss playing baseball or watching baseball, because I miss sports.
It's coming.
just watch. You should just watch soccer, as you call it. There's
Soccer.
tons of that on.
Love soccer. Great sport. Yeah, baseball is not finishing the season. I'm totally not expecting that. If Found, Cam, you reviewed this one.
I did. Yeah, this was a really good narrative game. So it's Annapurna Interactive published it, and basically it's about a young woman who it basically starts off and you're like she's an astronaut and she's basically going into this black hole, and then it kind of flashes back to her going back home where she is from in Ireland, and the team Dreamfield is the studio. They are based out in Ireland, and it's really cool because the narrative moves forward by you erasing the screen, and a cool touch is that the eraser gets smaller as you get farther into the story, and it's basically like her dealing with how like her mom and her brother don't they don't understand her, and her with her like identity and her sexual orientation and things like that. And it's really compelling, and it's really cool how the game has like a asterisk thing where you can click on the word and it will like give you of a word that like people in Ireland use in general, in their general speaking, and it'll tell you this is what this means in case you don't know what it means. It is very like self-aware that this is a game made from an Irish studio and we're making this an Irish game. Like these characters are Irish. They speak with an Irish accent and use Irish vocabulary. And it's I think it's a really cool thing that for that team to do. Especially because there's not many studios from Ireland. I can't think of another one. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I thought the story was great. I thought the characters were interesting. The ending is kind of weird to me. I'm not gonna go into depth, but the ending kind of just threw me. I didn't really fully understand what was going on at times. It kind of just like really jumped forward a lot. But it was very much it was a very great narrative story. Like maybe 3 hours to get through. Definitely worth your time. Yeah.
It's on what, mobile, right?
It's on PC? I think iOS and PC, I think. Okay. So yeah, it's on Steam. You can get it for like I think it's $15 or $20. And the art style is gorgeous. Like it's gorgeous for sure.
Did anybody else give this one a shot? You want to say anything about it?
No, I'm interested.
I played it at PAX for a little bit, and it was pretty neat, but I never beat it or spent too much time with it. It definitely seemed interesting.
Yeah. It's just kind of like I feel like it's just kind of because outside of the scenes of conversation, her name is Cassio, and she has like a journal, and writes notes about like the characters, so they kind of tell you like the likes and dislikes and their history and things like that as well. And that's the journal is kind of like the core concept of the game, without going into explanation as to why. But yeah, it's a really cool game. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I definitely think for those that are in the LGBTQ plus community, like that this game would very much resonate with them.
Well, cool. If Found, check it out. I think it's like on your review it says it's like $12, I think. So.
Oh yeah, I would say it's $12, 13.
So there you go. Lots of remasters. Quickly run through these. We're really not going to talk about them. Wonderful 101 came to other platforms outside of the Wii U. They saved it. Nick reviewed that for us. Enjoyed revisiting it on the Switch. Said it runs pretty well. Same game. Liked it before, likes it now. Give it an 8 out of 10. Mafia 2 Remastered. That kind of came out of nowhere because they're bringing all 3 games to the modern platforms. Mafia first game is being remade, coming out later this year. Mafia 2 though, not good. We didn't actually review that one, but that's not good. So just throwing that out there. Ricky, you reviewed Saints Row the Third Remastered. I don't know if you want to say anything too much about that one.
I mean, it's a better looking version of 2011's best game of the year. So if you haven't played it, please do. 'Cause it's amazing. But I don't know if it's worth revisiting if you haven't played it already.
You
I will
can
play this game.
slap people with a dildo in that game, I believe.
Dildo bat.
Absolutely.
It's really bizarre thinking back on that game because I bet there's a lot of things. I haven't visited that game since 2011, but I bet there's a lot of things in that game that would be considered problematic by today's standards.
Probably, yeah, probably.
So, probably an interesting one to revisit. Maneater. I can talk about this one. It's a dumb game where you play as a shark. I reviewed this one. Probably not going to be GOTY material. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I played all of this game in like a day and a half because it's not very long. It's like, I think it took me like 11 or 12 hours to 100% it. And then I didn't get the trophy for 100%ing it, which made me kind of mad. And then I had a save thing where it kicked me back to the start of the game, and I don't know what the hell happened. So my save was lost. Anyway, as far as the game itself goes, I don't know. It's a dumb open world RPG where you play as a shark and you eat people. There's really nothing to it. It just gets very, very repetitive. Like once you've played like 5 hours of this game, you've played all of it for the most part.
Definitely.
I think that the biggest problem with this game is the missions that you do are super boring and they recycle them in every single area. So you'll start out in area 1. It's like, do XYZ task and then you can move on to the next area. And it's like, okay. And then you do that and you go to the next area that you unlock after doing it in that area. And it's like, oh, hey, remember when we asked you to like eat 10 humans and chew up like 15 sea turtles? Do like legitimately the exact same thing in this area. And then you can like fight a boss, which just consists of mashing right trigger until you kill it. It's just super bland. Like it does stand... There is a certain level of enjoyment you can get out of it because just the activity, the general activity of roaming around the sea, eating people as a shark is just kind of fun and goofy. And there are some crazy power-ups you can... There's actually really not crazy power-ups in the game. You can make your shark look kind of funny with some of the skins and things like that, which do different things, but none of the power-ups really, or none of the RPG skill tree things ever really do anything too interesting or too fun. I don't know. It's just totally it's a podcast game. There you go. Because that's what I did. It is one of those the games of that genre where you just kind of something to do in the background while you are doing something else with your time. I enjoyed my time with it for what it was, but it's not special by any means. So don't know if anybody else wants to jump in on that one or not.
Played it, kind of never played it again.
Yeah, it very much seems like a turn your brain off and eat fish game.
Yep, pretty much.
The novelty of it wears off pretty quickly. But I thought it was like, I was like, when I first started playing it, I was laughing so hard because it's just so dumb. But it was like fun. You know?
Yeah,
like
the whole game
act of like really mostly like you go on like when you hop out of the water and then you go on legitimately dry land and just hopping around like flopping around and eating people is hilarious.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
But like you could only do that for so many times until it's like, okay, I gotta tackle these controls that aren't that great and all that stuff. So
yes. Maneater, I would not suggest for Game of the Year, but it's a game that came out this year. Speaking of games that came out this year, let's talk about the thing that's technically not a full game. Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. They decided to bring what's his face back, Shang Tsung, and tell you that he's gonna take your soul or whatever. Your soul is mine. So Aftermath expansion for Mortal Kombat 11. Mikey reviewed that one. It's got RoboCop in it. How is it?
It's really good. I liked it a lot. I think the like standout thing, we did a discussion video on this, Mario and I, and I think really the thing that stood out was, I forgot his name, but the person who does Shang Tsung.
Johnny Tsunami.
Yeah, he is
His
so
grandfather.
Wait,
No, Johnny Tsunami. That's Johnny Tsunami.
Yeah, we had this whole discussion
Really?
about it. I
Yeah.
don't really. It doesn't matter. I mean,
what?
I just blew your mind.
Carrie
Yeah.
something. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, yes.
I'm gonna look it up.
But he does such a good job of bringing that character back in this game. Like, you could tell like he is excited to play this character and is putting all like his all into that like voice acting role. It is so good. Like that, all of that. Just seeing that alone, I think is worth it if you're a Mortal Kombat fan. The DLC, like the characters that came with it, like RoboCop is like, it's a cool thing in the same way that like having Terminator or any of those other characters are really cool. But I didn't really like playing as RoboCop. It's just not my style, honestly. The other two entries though, Fujin and Shiva, are awesome. Or especially Shiva is like a super solid like pick to choose like as like a grappler if you're into that. But yeah, it's just a super solid expansion. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So, because you know the main Mortal Kombat 11 narrative kind of ends on like this note of anything could kind of happen, and they actually just end up continuing it. And I honestly didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure if I wanted that story to be continued like at this moment right now, or in just like a whole full blown like sequel to it. And so to see them kind of do that and actually kind of stick the landing on it, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I wanted to play this game because I wanted to get ready for the discussion, but we didn't get it in time, and I didn't have a PlayStation at the time in which we had it, so I watched a YouTube video, and it looked entertaining.
Yeah. There is no Ronda Rousey in this.
Thank
also.
God.
What?
So they took out
Thank God.
you know, the best part.
She's
of
terrible.
obviously, and
She was so bad in the base game. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why they did that. It was like clearly obvious that she was terrible.
but yeah, just Shang Tsung himself, like just that, his acting in that is just, it is worth
tremendous.
it just for that.
Yeah.
Just for that, it is totally worth it. I would say like the price range for it, I think it's like $40.
It's $40.
It's a lot, and that's a hard ask.
That is me. I couldn't pull the trigger on it.
I think if
it
you
was
don't own the game, you could get it for like a pretty normal price. Like with the game and the expansion and all that combined, it's
Yeah.
actually a pretty decent price. But yeah, I think it's a $40 standalone thing. And maybe that's a hard ask. Like, I don't know, unless you're like super into that, I don't think people will probably want to pay $40 for like a 5-hour story.
It's only three new
3 hour
people
stories.
too, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's three new characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you didn't
Yeah.
buy the other stuff too, right?
Yeah. So it's just
I mean, I didn't, so maybe that's a little better for me. But
yeah, if you didn't buy anything, I think you can get all of it for like $60, which is an
oh,
amazing.
that's more. I thought it was gonna be all of it for 40.
No, it's like for the game,
I have the base game.
the past game, then this, it's like $60, I think,
Gotcha.
which is pretty solid. That's like your game of the year version. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got really to say about it.
Well, not gonna win game of the year because it's an expansion, but it might be in. We do DLC categories near the end of the year, so I'm sure it'll be up for that.
Yeah.
Mike, you also reviewed Minecraft Dungeons.
I did. Oh yeah, that's already coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're already into May.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I thought this was really solid. Again, something that like kind of came out of left field for me. It's pretty much just like a baby first Diablo, you know. I guess in some ways, now I think about it a lot more, like, because I was kind of in a rush with this one, but
Yeah, you reviewed this on Time Crunch for us. Thank you.
it was a lot. Yeah. How they bring in the world of Minecraft, I think, is really cool and interesting, but the story is just so, just whatever. It's like bad Squidward looking man gets angry because he doesn't fit in, so he becomes evil, and now you have to stop him. And then by the end, you like befriend him or something like that. It's really nothing all that crazy, but it's a kid's game, and that's fine. But like how they like show that world like in that point of view and stuff, I think is really cool. But I guess in some ways, like how something integral to Minecraft is building and crafting and stuff like that, and there's not a whole bunch of building and crafting in the game. So I think in that sort of sense of like really translating the gameplay of Minecraft into a dungeon crawler is not really there. I did kind of like the simplification of like how their gear works and stuff like that, but I don't know, it just all I don't know, I guess when I look at it, when I look to play like a dungeon crawler, I always look at Diablo and how in depth that is. And so when I played this is definitely a good version for somebody who's new to that genre to play. But something like for me to like look for enjoyment, and to keep on playing, I don't know if I would go back to it that much. But it's still fun, and I definitely recommend it to if if you have like a kid or something who like really wants to get more into like these kinds of games, or sees you like playing Diablo one time and is like, oh, I want to play that. Well, you can't, because whatever. If you're into like, you know, not having your kids play rated M games, but you could play this with them, and I think both like the parents and the kid could have like a super solid time. So I think it's good or great. I guess that's what 8.0 means. So
8 out of 10. Great.
Yeah.
Not good.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think I gotta go. Sorry.
You're fine.
All
Bye,
right.
Charlie.
It's been nice talking to y'all.
Yep.
Have a
See
good
ya.
one, everyone.
Bye.
You too.
Now Mario has to quickly move things around because our faces are off kilter.
Just put a ghost there.
Good.
We talked about this. It's gone.
Yeah, I mean, Minecraft Dungeons is one of those games that I add to my like Xbox library right away. I just haven't gotten around to playing.
Yeah. I think if you also had I played this all by myself, and I think if you played it with people, it'd be way more enjoyable. But yeah.
Yeah, I got to play it, and I had some fun. And like you said, they're like it's basically like a Diablo game, just a Diablo clone. And if you had friends, which I played with friends with Xbox Game Pass, it's a lot of fun. Just 4 players just getting in there, just dungeon crawling and collecting loot and getting strong. And once you beat it, there's also another mode to it. It's called Adventure Mode.
Yeah.
And it gets harder.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting about it is like the difficulty scaling is just kind of weird. Because when you as you level, it scales the difficulty. But you could technically play higher difficulties, but it'll actually block off certain parts of that difficulty, so you can't really do as much as maybe you want to challenge yourself, I guess, or even down as much as you want to do. It's really interesting. I'm so disconnected. It's been a while, so I'm kind of disconnected from it, so I can't remember the details on it. But it's really like an odd system.
Right. That was another thing I was gonna say about like the power level. I mean, because you power level. I had one friend that's already, when I got into the game and played it, he was already like, beat the adventure mode, and he put me in there with him. It's like, look, you just stand back and I'll do all the work. Just kind of like stand close. And I power level real quick. Said it's fun though.
Yeah, there were some like also parts where it like would randomly get super difficult.
Dude.
I was like really surprised at sometimes how difficult it would get.
There was a few stages where I was playing by myself, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And it would take you up to like the max level, even though you weren't max level. I was just getting wrecked. I was like, yo, this is challenging.
Yeah. It was just odd because you would play like the rest of that level, it wouldn't be that hard like at all, and then you get to this like final like this boss or something like that, or even just like some other encounter in there, and it'd be like super difficult. I'm like, odd. Oh well. But then you prepare for it and it's fine. But yeah.
And like you all said, it's on Xbox Game Pass. You haven't played it, get it, and the DLC's out now also.
Yeah, that is the truth.
Is that DLC included? By the way,
no, it's not.
They want
I don't know if
$6.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Minecraft. Thank you, Mo Yang. I still hate that name. It should be Mojang. It's so annoying.
Okay.
Dungeon Defenders. No one here is going to talk about that. That was the one that Josh reviewed. He enjoyed his time with that. Gave that a 7.5. Dungeon Defenders Awaken, tower defense style game on PC, PS4, Switch, Xbox. He dug it. It's like not remake directly, but it's like Somehow it involved the first game in the series that they just kind of like redid. I guess it's a remake. So, I don't know. Anyway, Josh largely enjoyed his time with that one. You can go check out his review on the site if you would like to for that one. Let's talk about Riot Games because they now have another game that's out called Valorant.
Oh joy.
Valorant, the game that you may have waited like 96 hours to get a code for to play if you're some of us. I don't know. I can start this one. I haven't played a ton of this, honestly, because I don't know. It's a tactical shooter style thing. I think it's really polished for what it is. I will say that. It feels really good. Knows what it wants to be. It's clear that this has been like dev tested out the wazoo. Like they knew what they were going for and they did a good job with what it is, but I don't know, like just something about it didn't click with me. And the obvious, like the thing that we constantly talk about, like you and I, Mike, when we talk about this game is like the matches are just too long. That's my biggest hurdle with this. Yeah. I do not want to play 30 to 40 minute shooter matches.
I think really the problem with it is that they want you to have like this. I think it's built for esports. Like that is the reason why this game exists, is because of esports, and so it's built around that kind of structure with like its main game mode, and it's kind of a turnoff for people who want to play it even semi-casually. Maybe they want to dip their toes in it, but when you're dipping your toes in it, you're going into like a 30-round match. It could sometimes even last longer. It could last like
30 rounds.
Yeah,
it would cap out at what, 25?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's 25 rounds, and it's just
if you went to match point on either side, which is probably super rare, but still, each round then lasts what, 3 to 5 minutes. So if it does go to match point, you've played a very, very long game.
It's a long time. I still play this game a whole lot. Like I play it with a lot of some of the friends that I grew up with, and we have like an awesome time. I will say, like, to echo what you're saying, like it's a super polished game. It feels really great. I mean, it's that mixture of like Counter-Strike, Overwatch. I think it has Siege vibes to it too, which is probably why I gravitate towards it a little bit more. But yeah, it's just like to muster up the energy to want to play it is always like kind of the hurdle that I have, because it's like, okay, well, can I play this because I should go to bed because I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and maybe I shouldn't play this game.
When you're making League of Legends seem like a potentially short game, then
then you got problems. But yeah, it's a solid game. It's just that's really the main, like really the one gripe I have with it is just that the matches are way too long. They did add the spike rush thing, which is good for, I guess, if you want to like get used to it, but I really don't think it allows you to get used to like how you're supposed to play the game in terms of like their main mode. And you almost play it more like a Call of Duty in a way, and I don't think it really helps you like get seasoned enough for like playing the normal mode or even getting into ranked or any of that stuff. It's just good for maybe like if you want to practice before you go into one of those matches. So, but yeah.
Did anybody else check out Valorant? Have any pressing thoughts about it?
I've installed it and I haven't played it.
I played it.
Good install.
It is a game that exists. I would probably have tried it out more if it had controller support, because I am not good with a keyboard and mouse, and I do not have the patience to learn keyboard and mouse for shooters. So yeah,
they are bringing it to consoles, aren't they? I think they said that they're working on it, so it's gonna come at some point.
Yeah, it's just I think I understand why they didn't put controller support, because I think you'd be at like a total disadvantage if you're playing against like some of the people that play this game. Like it's crazy how good
it's very precision based with its shooting, very much like Counter-Strike. Like Counter-Strike, you just kind of have to play with mouse and keyboard.
But I understand, like, yeah, obviously, like you want to play with a controller. That's what you're used to, and that's what you feel the best with. That's when you don't have that choice. Like, it kind of sucks for sure.
Yeah, like I mean, like I play Overwatch on PC with a controller, and like with no problem. Like, and I know that Valorant is more precision based in that sense, but like it's just like I can just adapt. It's I don't.
And I think also like especially since that mode, even though it's like very much like a quote unquote hardcore shooter or whatever, it's still like a casual mode technically. Like why couldn't you just roll the dice there and just give them the controller support and stuff like that? But
Well, there is a shorter game mode too, as well. And
Yeah,
that's
there's,
something
like,
I feel like Mario is going to mention before too long. Is that there is a shorter game mode too? But
Yeah.
yeah, this game needs to be like first to 7 or something like that. First to 6 or 7 rounds, rather than 13. I do agree. It's totally been created from the top up with esports in mind.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the biggest in League of Legends, the biggest esports offering in the world. So I mean, and of course, like if you're Riot Games, you're going to create this game with that in mind. Like I don't fault them for that at all. Like Riot or League of Legends esports probably makes them I don't know how much money. So we're going to talk about another esport now. Apparently, something has appeared in our doc. Yeah, Valorant. I don't know. It's a good game by all accounts. I think it's just something that I don't like sinking time into. I don't know, personal taste, I guess. I would rather sink time into something even worse. Shout out to this. I will say I'm gonna boot up Valorant tomorrow though. The day we're recording this, they're releasing those dragon skins tomorrow.
Dude,
I'm stoked to see how expensive those are gonna be because there's currently not skins of that nature in the game, and they're like $60. And now they're releasing these like ultra crazy, like you could get a dragon as a sniper rifle. I'm sure it's gonna be like $100.
Really?
Video games, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy. I think that I checked them yesterday, and the average skins for like lone guns in that game was like anywhere from like $10 to $20 for lone weapons. And then, unless my math is off with the conversion rate from real human dollars to Riot points, but I don't think it is. And then there was a bundle in there that was like 5,000 Riot points, which is like between like $40 and $50, I think, of real money. And those aren't even on the same tier as the ones they're releasing tomorrow. Like they're hyping up the ones they're releasing tomorrow. It's like, these are the first Ultra Edition skins we've ever put into the game. So like, God knows how much those are going to cost you. And then my roommate upstairs is the one who perpetuates this nonsense. So
sure does.
My roommate has spent probably like $2,500 on League of Legends lifetime. So
Yeah,
throw that out there for the world to know.
If I know that man, I believe it.
Anyway, he can afford it though. Crucible.
Oh,
Scott just wrote this in here.
brilliant.
It's a game that did so well it got de-released. I don't know how much
The
else.
internet couldn't handle that much awesomeness. They had to be like, we had to pull. People are getting too addicted. People are wasting too much time playing this game. We have to cut them off. Too good.
Yeah.
It's like why Radical Heights stopped.
You gotta stop at your peak, baby.
Radical Heights.
Can you do kickflips in that game?
In Radical Heights?
Probably.
Yeah.
You should have been able to.
Wait, I didn't know that.
I thought there was a skateboard in it. You could do like kickflips and shoot a man while you did it.
That's pretty awesome.
That game sounds great.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe I just thought up another battle royale game that should exist.
Tony does
Hawk's
kickflips.
Battle
Tony
Royale.
Hawk, yeah.
You know they'll add that mode.
Oh, what is that mode where you
Crucible,
slap each
Scott.
other? No, continue. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, Crucible is this is Amazon's game that they released, their first big game that they put out, and it was kind of supposed to be like a third-person shooter style, like MOBA, right?
Yeah, like a weird mix of Overwatch and a MOBA, and like Monster Hunter kind of ish. It was weird, and it launched with like, and they really wanted it to be the next big. They wanted it to be Valorant, basically. They wanted it to be the next big competitive online esports game, and it didn't launch with anything that would make that a possibility, like voice chat or ranked modes or good matchmaking or in-game chat at all. And yeah, it was rough. So they unreleased it. But yeah,
So
be sure to play it.
I was gonna say, I think that speaks for itself. They took it back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
I don't know. The release for this one's been bizarre.
I said in my preview they should not have touted it as the release of the game, do it like an early access beta, and then work on it. But when you stick that release label on it, it's over. There's not enough game here to release.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, like people have quote unquote released games over the past few years that probably had just as little content. Like Star Wars Battlefront 1 notably had like not much to do in that game. I don't know how much there is in this game. I don't know. I'm of the mind, again, I haven't played this game. I'm of the mind, if you think your game's done, just release it. Like, I don't like this nonsense where Fortnite is the most popular game in the world and it's still in beta or something.
Oh, it's not. It's not a beta now.
It's not. Finally, it took 4 years or whatever.
Yeah. No, totally.
So, I mean, that stuff just gets ridiculous. So, I mean, if you thought it was ready, then throw it out there, I guess. But
I get what you're saying on that end with Fortnite, but also, like, I don't think Fortnite would exist if they decided to do that.
well, the reason they did that was because it wasn't like a loophole thing to where they could like keep pushing out like regular, like it's something with like how I think PlayStation is primarily set up with like free to play games or something like that. Like if you say it's an open beta, you can keep. It was something like if they said it was an open beta, they could keep doing certain updates or things to it routinely, more so than if it was like a full launch game. I don't really understand how it works. I don't understand how that makes sense. But supposedly it was something like that. I don't know. Crucible, is it good? No one knows because no one played it.
I did. I played it.
You did. You did.
Not very good.
Not
My
very
friend, buddy of mine, Frank,
That's
played it actually in beta as well. Pre everything, because they were like testing him. They literally paid him money to play the game, and he was like, "This game sucks" to their face.
Got those Bezos bucks.
Got those Bezos bucks to test it out before the game ever was even announced.
I'll take those. Somebody wants me to play that game. Crucible. We don't have a review for that one. We've got a preview or an editorial up you can read about though if you're interested, or you can just download the game and play it, I guess.
I don't think you can anymore. I think if you had already downloaded the game, you can still play it, but if you hadn't, it's like gone.
So it's like a closed beta now. It's still in beta, but
it went to beta. It went from release back to beta.
But it's not an open beta, so you can't actively download it.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a new one. Everybody say a prayer for Amazon Games tonight before you go to bed, alongside your prayers for Google Stadia.
Don't worry. New
they got
World
the
will get them
money.
on the map. All right.
Yeah. Anybody play that Shantae game?
No,
Not
it's
yet.
probably
I
with
want
more
to.
Shantae.
Charlie,
Seems
did you
like
play the
more
Shantae game?
Shantae.
Thing, but like, more Shantae.
Seems like more Shantae based on Alyssa's review. She really liked it. 8.5 out of 10 is what she gave it.
Yeah.
She said it was a solid magical journey. Yeah, her review basically says the same thing. Like, it's more Shantae, which is good, but it's Shantae.
Yeah, Shantae is a series that I've always like in recent years, like, because I didn't really know it was a series until like I want to say the game that came out before this one or something like that, and I was just like, oh, what's this? And then I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty like well beloved platforming series, right? Platformer. And then they announced the limited run games. They're re-releasing the Game Boy Color version. I still have my Game Boy Color, so I'm probably gonna pick that up and play the first Shantae that way, and eventually get through the series, because I'm just like, it's really cool that limited game is doing that, and hopefully they do that with more Game Boy Color games in the future. But yeah, yeah, more Shantae is for those who love Shantae. But like, I mean, when it comes to Game of the Year, it probably not gonna
Doesn't hang.
exactly.
Yeah. Shantae. Xenoblade. Xenoblade.
Oh yeah.
Scott, you reviewed this one. You liked it. You gave it a 9 out of 10. Said it really kind of streamlined a lot of the problems with the other game, or with the first, the original game. I don't know. It's been released twice. Yeah. So this is the third release of this game. You notably didn't like the other ones though. So this was like the first time the game really kind of clicked with you. Or you didn't dislike it, but it was like something
I didn't dislike it. Yeah, I bounced off of it. Xenoblade, and I mentioned this in my review, the game, and I think this extends to all three Xenoblade titles. It asks a lot of the player like, especially, it's not a beginner friendly RPG in the least, I think. And even to try and get into it, it asks a lot of the player. It's a bit of a slower game to get into. I mean, you mentioned with Final Fantasy VII, Logan, kind of bouncing off and not digging the characters 8 hours in. To really sink your teeth in and get connected to the world, you're probably looking between the 15 and 20 hour mark to really kind of wrap your head around the move system, or like the combat and the crafting, and really start investing in the characters with Xenoblade. So a lot of those aspects are what kind of bounced me off with the old games, and kind of forcing myself through the barrier that I experienced previously. I did come out really enjoying this one. I do enjoy the second one more, but the characters, everything in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, still very good. I love the updates they've done to it. Looks really well done, and when you realize this was originally a Wii game, it just reinforces just how much black magic must have gone into to get it to work on the Wii. I was hoping to like the Future Connected add-on more, the epilogue story, more than I did. I was kind of let down by that, but overall, really good RPG. Definitely one of the stronger ones for the platform, which the Switch is just turning into an RPG powerhouse at this point. But yeah, good RPG. How it will fare against other RPGs in a very cluttered year or not cluttered, but a very full year for the genre of 2020 will be interesting to see where it lands come the end of the year. But yeah, really solid game. Give it a shot.
Yeah, I basically echo everything that Scott said. I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like crafting is necessary or in any way like that I like feel the need to do so. But I think that just playing this game does make me, because this is my first time playing it, it does make me question how did this game work on the Wii, because I just feel like it's it's just above that platform from a technical and general aspect. Like on the Switch right now, like I feel, because I played Xenoblade 2, and for me, like that was my favorite Switch game until Tokyo Mirage Sessions came out earlier. So yeah, I really like the game. It looks great for being a Wii game originally and getting that fresh coat of paint and everything like that. It definitely, I don't think it's going to be in the conversation for Game of the Year personally, for me, but it definitely will. It will. I would be surprised if it does not land on my top 10 list by the end of the year, for sure.
I didn't know if anybody else had anything else to say about this one.
It's rhyme time.
I actually own this one. I bought this. Been wanting to play this game for a while. Will I do it this year? Will I do it? I don't know. This is like quickly turning into the year of RPGs for me, more so than it has in a while. Because I'm gonna try to get through. I will get through Persona, and I want to go back to Final Fantasy.
Dog. I'm excited for you, dude. You're so close.
I'm on Palace 4. I'm getting there at least. So
He is not close. What are you talking about?
Hey, I've poured
halfway. I think
I've poured 60 hours into this game in like a couple weeks. It's pretty good.
I mean,
I know I'm not close, but
wait, you played 60 hours and you're only at Palace 4?
bro, what does that icon in the bottom right corner say? It says "Take your time."
Take my time, and I'm at the 7th Palace and I'm 75 hours.
So, in fairness, sometimes I like leave the game pulled up like in the background, and I'll go do other things. There's probably like 5 to 8 hours that I didn't actually play it.
This has been a thing that like I talked to Scott about this. Like it took me 75 hours to beat the original Persona 5, and people think I'm like I rushed through it, and I didn't. I didn't though. I just played it normally. But anyway.
You didn't.
Yes, I did.
That's a freakish time.
That is very fast.
I know someone who beat it even quicker. I know someone who beat it even quicker. Personally, like
I know
locally.
someone who beat it in Japanese.
You're both freakish.
Platinum did.
No, I know I'm an outlier, but I didn't do anything wrong here, guys. Anyway,
How could you?
This is actually this is an intervention for you, Cam. That's why
You can't even call yourself a Persona 5 fan.
Yeah, for
You
real.
didn't easily invest 120 hours in.
You
I
didn't
mean,
savor
come on
it
now.
enough.
You didn't savor it. You didn't respect it enough.
You didn't get the
Just
story.
spend 120
Cam.
hours.
In it.
And people say
No
games
wonder
are too
you
damn
didn't-
long.
No wonder you
Whatever.
I will say,
didn't even spend enough time with her.
I will say with
That's like capture
wait,
finger marks.
I unfortunately spent too much time with her because she was in the party in the first place. Anyway, with Xenoblade, I think that Xenoblade for you, Logan, is I'm doing something similar just because it's a remaster and it's a game that's, even though I haven't played before, it's a game that, you know, has been out for a long time. It's very much my like lay in bed before going to bed game, like that I'll hop on and play for an hour or two. It's a very easy like hop in hop out type JRPG. I think more than most.
good.
So I would keep that in mind. Like you can easily like I can easily turn that game on and off without having to worry about really like, oh, I should get to the save point first, or oh, I should do this first before I stop. Which have that type of like mindset when I play like any game. Like, oh, I'll stop after this point. Like Xenoblade, I very much am just like, okay, turn off, turn back on. So
That's good because I mean, again, comparing it to like Persona here, like Persona is very narrative heavy. So if you bounce out of that game for any extended periods of time, that's like, oh wait, what happened in the story again? And it's like there's never a really good point to stop playing that game. So that's good to hear with Xenoblade. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case for like in that sense. I'm just saying in a more of a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, no, that makes sense too.
Yeah, but narratively, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the game yet, personally. That was the Scott question. Is Scott frozen?
I think Scott is frozen.
Oh no, not another ghost.
It's a good picture though.
Oh, there you go.
Alright.
Scott's back. Hello.
Yeah, Scott, would you say that it's an easy game to hop in and out of? Xenoblade?
Yeah, I think it has a much more.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
No.
much more.
No.
A much more.
What?
Never know.
What?
A much more.
Hello.
A much more.
It's a great DualShockers product right now.
I know.
Oh, why is my camera not on? Turn on camera. There we go. No, I think it's a fairly typical JRPG story. For a good amount of parts, so it is pretty much jump in, jump out. You can do it. The side quests are absolute garbage in Xenoblade. So
They're very much MMO side quests in that sense.
they're worse than that. They are worse than MMO.
You got
But the thing-
MMO side.
The thing that is
Excuse me?
the thing that is nice about the side quests in Xenoblade is that like you don't have to like go back to whoever gave you the quest. Once it's done, it's like quest complete. You get your experience and your money, and you're good to go, which I really like.
But no, I think you can easily pick it up, put it down. The vista, like the areas you run through to get from objectives, can be really, really big. So, yeah, you can run a ways or just auto run for a while, and then put it back down, or do something else while you were auto running somewhere. But yeah, and you can save anywhere, so that's a nice feature. So, but I could see it being a decent pick up and drop it, pick it back up again game. Much easier than Persona.
So that's Xenoblade Definitive Edition. It is the Definitive Edition, so pick it up if you haven't already, which is actually why I picked it up, because I meant to play the 3DS one like you mentioned, Mike. I just went around to. We're going to stop here briefly. We're going to break this into 2 videos because Manra and the board messaged me and asked me to do this. So we're going to break it off here first now on our end, and then we'll be back in, I don't know, another video or the same video. This is probably just for Mario.
Probably the next day. You'll probably see us the next day.
We'll be back. We got more games to talk about for June. Stay tuned.